Hello children, welcome to another week of stories. Today we're going to do the story of Esther and it's called More Than Beautiful. The king of Persia had lots of money. There he is, look. But he wasn't very happy. He wanted a beautiful queen. So he sent his advisors, there they are, to bring him the most beautiful woman in all the land. Soon the king's palace was full of beautiful women. Can you see them all lining up to see the king? I wonder who he'll choose. I'm just going to move that back a little bit. One of the new queens was called Esther. She was Jewish and she was living with her cousin Mordecai. So there's Esther, and that's probably Mordecai there. Mordecai came to the courtyard every day to ask about Esther. He loved her very much and she loved him too. The king put a servant in charge of the beautiful young women. His name was Hegai. Esther was Hegai's favourite. She was so kind and lovely in every way. She's very pretty, isn't she? Move that round there a bit. Day after day, each girl waited to see if the king would call for her. She needed to be ready. So she did her makeup and styled her hair, and she put on her nicest dress and selected all of her best gold and silver jewellery. At last, one day, the king called for Esther. Esther looked beautiful as she appeared before the king of Persia. What a pretty girl. The king was so pleased when he saw Esther and he realised how special she was. Esther had won his heart, so he put a crown upon her head. Esther was the new queen, but she didn't know then that God had a very special reason for her being the queen. One day, a servant rushed in. "Queen Esther! Queen Esther!" he gasped. "Your cousin Mordecai, he's outside. He says a wicked man called Haman has tricked the king into ordering all Jews to be killed." Oh no. Esther was very frightened, but she wanted to help her people. What could she do? She must speak to the king, but unless he called for her, she was not allowed to speak to him. Trembling a little, Esther went before the king. He was very pleased to see her. "What do you want, Esther?" he asked. "I would give you even up to half of my kingdom." Esther said she wanted the king and wicked Haman to come to dinner, a banquet, and they all had a fine meal. I wonder what Esther's up to. "What do you want, Esther?" asked the king again. "I will give you even half of my kingdom." But she just invited the king and Haman to dinner again. There's the king, look, with his lovely hat on, his crown. And there's nasty Haman, look, who wants to kill all of the Jews. The next day at the banquet, the king saw that Esther was unhappy. "What do you want, Esther?" he asked yet again. "I'm going to give you half of my kingdom." I just want my life," said Esther. Then Esther explained that Haman had plotted to kill her and every other Jew. The king was furious. "Take Haman to be killed," he shouted. There he is, look. Esther begged the king to save the lives of all of the Jews, and because he loved her, the king did as she'd asked. Esther was more than beautiful. She was also wise and good. And with God's help, she saved all of her people. And that's the end. Well, wasn't she a brave lady going before the king? and then she ended up being the queen anyway. I'll see you tomorrow with another story. Bye bye.